Pursuant to Chapter 20 of Acts of 2021, certain COVID-19 protection measures were extended as they relate to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, the open meeting law. This meeting of the City of Westfield Conservation Commission be conducted via remote participation. Specific information can be found on the City of Westfield website at www.cityofwestfield.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so by tuning into channel 15 or channel 12, or online at westfieldtv.org, or online at youtube.com, Westfield Community Programming Channel. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the city's website an audio recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, roll call. Carl.
Here.
Tom.
Yes, here.
Lauren.
Here.
And I'm here, so we do have a quorum. Okay. Item 2, anyone like to address the commission on any item not on the agenda? All right, seeing none. Item 3, public meetings. A, 240 Russellville Road, again, continued from 6/28/2022. You have a recommendation, Anna, and an update?
So I haven't received further plans and the applicant has not withdrawn. RDAs, once proposed, have to stay on the docket for 2 years. So if the application is not going to be withdrawn anytime soon, I would just recommend continuing it for 6 months and then continuing for 6 months and then continuing for 6 months until the 2-year term expires.
Okay, do we have a motion to continue?
Oh, before we do that, Anna, why don't we just say no? Why don't we just?
Because you motioned the ball into the court of Oscar, so you told Oscar to come back with plans. So since it's essentially his turn to present something, we just can't say no.
Yeah, we can deny it. Right?
Not according to DEP. Because we technically don't have grounds to deny it because the problem is the permanent limit of work, not the Wetlands Protection Act.
If we base our decision on what we've received, he wants to put his septic system outside of the work area. To me, that's a no-no. Why don't we deny it?
Yeah, so the problem is like it's a legal no, but not based upon the Wetlands Protection Act, because permanent limits of work don't fall under the Wetlands Protection Act. To deny an application, it has to be through lack of information or it breaks the law. Nothing about the law being the Wetlands Protection Act. So nothing about the proposal breaks the law of the Wetlands Protection Act. And we requested additional information that just has not been provided to us yet.
So,
All right, let me
A
think
motion.
about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know
I'll
that Oscar is here. I didn't know through the chair if he wanted to speak to it or if he's here concerning the enforcement.
we can ask him. Oscar, which item are you here for this evening?
Hi, how are you, everybody? Nothing new. Still, the same. Yeah, I called the engineer and to find out the permanent not working. He say he didn't give any news. He say he's gonna find out. I don't know. So I think I just keep waiting. I hope for the on a new, because the thing is we don't want to do a tiny tank in the big house. So I have to keep and find out. Once everything is clear, we can let you know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you too.
Yep, so I guess a motion to continue for 6 months is in order. Do we have a
Well,
motion?
can I just interrupt for a minute? I'm
Yes,
sorry. Oscar, do you anticipate any movement before 6 months?
That would be the question.
What is it?
Do you anticipate doing anything or being able to do anything in the next 6 months on the property?
The thing is I cannot really choose because my brother, he's the owner and he was working on it. The thing is he just like a month ago, he get a surgery in his pain or something like that. He cannot even walk. So now the thing is, I have to take care of her first, him first, and we'll see it, because he is the owner actually, and he is sick right now, so he cannot even walk. And I was help
think-
him. So the thing is, I cannot. And also, I hired the guys to do that one, so they not do anything. So I have to keep waiting.
I think a better question would be, Oscar, do you plan on doing anything with a septic system proposal within the next 6 months specifically? Not repairing the property under the enforcement order, but under your application for the septic, do you plan on doing anything with that in the next 6 months?
It will be good if I give you this information in the next meeting. That way I can talk with my brother, everything clear, and see what happens.
Okay.
Thank you
I'll
very
make a
much.
motion that we continue this until our next meeting.
Okay.
You have a second?
Maybe I'll second that.
So it's July 26th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Carl,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Item B, 455 Root Road. Again, continue from 6/28/2022. Anna,
So they're asking working ordinance. The work is within the riverfront area. At the 3 site visits we have done, we asked the following from the applicant, which was to mark the 100-foot distance from the river on the plan, mark the limit of work on the plan, show contours, mark the 100-foot distance from the river in the field, show grading on the plan, mark erosion controls on the plan, and mark stumps being removed onto the plan, as well as showing changes to grade and elevation. I did receive the plans like 40 minutes ago, so I haven't had time to look them over, but I believe Dan is here to represent the applicant.
Yes, good evening, Commission. This is Dan Nitchie from GZA representing Sarah Cabral at 445 Route. Yeah, I mean, we were just tasked with getting that plan together very quickly. We took the survey data from Harold L. Eaton, which is, if I may share the screen, can I share?
sure.
There. Okay, so you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, so we transferred the information from Eaton, which is the wetland delineation, the property boundary, the existing structures, as well as the proposed work areas. We kept those in place just as he proposed. Our engineer then did some grading. We brought in these contours are based on LiDAR. We brought in the grading, we did the grading work. We show the 100-foot riverfront area, which was marked in the field today by myself. Sarah took some pictures and sent that off to Anna. We marked the 100-foot area, and I put one area out, I put one marker out here at the 200-foot area, just so they sort of understood where that limit would be. This particular plan, because we were going fast and furious today, this is incorrect, this proposed limit of work. It is not on the edge of the river. It needs to be over here at the 100-foot line. So this limit of work will be at the 0 to 100-foot riverfront area and no further. No work is going to happen between this 100-foot line and the river or the BVW. Everything will be outside of that. And based on the property right now, that is in the cleared area. We found one tree, one stump that was cut inside the 100-foot area. I mean, literally by about 5 feet. But that's all we found beyond the 100-foot. Everything else is just sort of a cleared area or vegetation. So the work is going to remain within this area that's already cleared right now for proposed shed, pool, and that type of thing. Just so the commission understands, you probably heard it when you went to the field. This driveway, there's 2 driveways here. They're going to tear this up, the gravel that's here, going to restore it with loam and seed it with native plants. Put some native shrubs in here, and that will be with just outside the riverfront area, but that will help give some better water quality, because what happens is right now is water drains down this driveway, goes down the road and into this sort of these contours imply a drainage way. This is where I believe Karen and Anna were thinking this BVW was originally. We looked in here and did not find hydric soil. There is some hydric vegetation, but we didn't find hydric soil. So just for general protection purposes, she's going to tear this up, replant it with native vegetation so that we don't have any gravelly runoff going down into this swale area that may eventually go to the wetland. We don't know, but we just don't want to, we want to head that off. So I believe this plan shows what the commission needed. We can adjust this tomorrow and I'll send Anna a new plan to put the limit of work on the 100-foot line. And that's kind of where we're at on a very short notice.
Hey, Dan, you've also showing 100 feet. If you go just above where the proposed pool, yeah.
Yeah, the
What's that?
buffer zone. That's the 100-foot buffer zone to the BVW. Okay, and you guys may already be aware of this, but when there's a buffer zone within a riverfront area, the regulations, they don't say it, but they imply that the buffer zone really doesn't exist because the entire area is a riverfront area. It's a resource area. So the resource area has more stringent performance standards, is more restrictive than a buffer zone development. But we still show it. So the green is buffer zone to the BVW. But
Thank
from a practical perspective, we're in a resource area. The work is in the riverfront area. And so we're showing how we're going to grade this out. The limit of work will be right on the 100-foot line. So we don't believe any of this work, this grading work, is going to erode down towards the wetland. What I'll show on the revised plan is right here, you see my cursor. I'm just going to take the erosion control barrier, the sediment barrier, and curve it in this direction. Okay, so it's more down gradient of this grading that you see here. So we'll just adjust that to be right over to this property line on an angle, and then we'll follow right along the 100-foot riverfront line.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions from the commission?
I
I had
wasn't,
one if I could, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I was not there for the site visit, Dan, but there was some, I thought I read somewhere about trees being cut. No, outside of the 100 feet, but inside the 200 foot. Did you notice that?
Yes, there is some tree removal that happened where this red lettering is. Some of that was due to a tree fell down on the child's on their child play area about
Yeah.
20 minutes after they walked away from it. So they cleared some trees for that, and maybe a little more than necessary, but there's some stumps that are still left in the 200-foot area that, according to the proposal in the RDA, they'll be ground flush to the ground. So they have a stump grinder come in and cut those right to the ground.
You started off by saying that there was one stump within the 100 foot. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah, we looked at it today. I believe, Sarah, you chime in. You sent a photo. Did you send a photo with that stump shown?
Yes, so there's one stump that's inside that is in that area of the 100 feet.
Right.
It's down by where the wood chips are, where you guys wanted me to move those. So that is the one that's down over there. That is in before the 100 foot.
Yeah, so about 5 feet into the 100-foot area.
Yeah, it's right there.
And again, when you were talking, Dan, you said that the trees that had, about 10 trees had been removed. You said, look at the area that's in red. Now, that's within 100 feet, but you're correcting that by saying there was only one tree removed.
Within the 0 to 100, a single tree.
Right.
Outside the 100, but within the 200, there's around 10 stumps out there. So that would be, that's over this area, but most of the stumps are really right about in here where that red lettering is.
Right. Is it your recommendation that we grind and take these stumps down to the ground?
I think it would be best. These are pines and they're not going to stump sprout. So they're not going to produce another tree. So it's better to actually grind them off right to the ground.
And as far as soil retention, as far as holding things together, a root
Right,
system?
exactly. The roots will stay in the ground, and those the pine trees, those roots actually stay they're not alive, but they stay viable in terms of soil retention for several decades, actually.
Right.
This
Yeah.
area is fully vegetated right now. It's a herbaceous growth right now, but this entire area is growing vegetation right now. So it's pretty stable.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Other questions? Do you have a question, Carl?
Yeah, I had a question about if you're going to do some grading around the proposed shed and pool, will there be silt fences that will be erected around that area? And where exactly will those be?
Yeah, so we're gonna put this limit of work line is like, as I mentioned earlier, is not correct. It needs to be on this line, the 0 to 100 foot riverfront line. So we're gonna put this barrier we're showing here, silt fence and straw wattle, right, or straw bales, whichever you'd like, right along the 100 foot riverfront line. You follow my cursor?
Mhm.
Until we get to about here, and then we'll go on an angle up to the property line. So we're down gradient of this little curve right here. I want to make sure that we have protection right up to the property line and that angle. I don't see a big issue because we got a lot of vegetation, but obviously for Wetlands Protection Act, we need to put something in. So that's what I'd recommend. So we're going to revise this tomorrow and send this off to Anna, and we can send it to Karen as well if you'd like. But we'll adjust this limit of work line with the erosion control. So it's a silt fence with either straw wattle or straw bales, whichever you guys prefer.
Okay. Yeah,
Other
thanks.
questions?
I have a question.
Yes,
Thanks for the updated plans. This is really helpful. So is there any restoration being planned on where say that one stump was being removed and also the wood chips?
Yeah, the wood chips easily will be scraped out and right down to the grass layer below it. And it is sort of both sides of the wood chip pile have predominantly upland ferns, hay-scented fern, some other upland species. So I think that just by removing that, meaning herbaceous species, by removing the wood chips, those herbaceous species that are trapped under there will start to grow. They'll come up. The one stump in this curve right here, in this contour right above the words, this label, that's kind of a flat area. We could put a couple of shrubs in there to replace the tree, or put another tree in there if you'd like. I mean, red maple would be good. I personally wouldn't recommend white pine because at some point that's going to be a problem tree and people are going to want to cut it down. But I think a red maple is a little bit slower growing. I think that'd be fine over there. Restoration within this area, we're open to putting in shrubs. We could replace all the tree stumps, the 10 tree stumps, with a native shrub, meaning native to your county. I would have to take a look at those, and I could give you guys a list of those. But you know, there's really there'd be 9. So we have 1 stump in the 100 and 9 outside. So it'd be 9 shrubs we'd be planting in this area.
And I know when I've also spoke to Karen in that little dip area, I planned on
That's this right
growing.
here.
Yep. I planned on growing and putting things aligning that area anyway of bushes and shrubs. So, you know, I do want stuff to help suck up some of this water for us.
Sounds
As
good.
we mentioned at the site visit, we do have a list of shrubs that would be,
And I did get it, and I
did? Okay,
did,
good.
yeah, I did get it, and I plan to pick from those, I think it was 3 or 4 pages. It was quite an extensive list, so.
all right, thank you. I noticed when we were discussing this on the site visit, that you were thinking of changing the position of that large shed. So it's not so perpendicular to the railroad tracks. But I don't see that on this plan.
If it was, because I know it was kind of close, you guys were concerned it might have been a little too close, and I said we could turn it vertically or keep it horizontally if you guys had a preference.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest with you, from a practical perspective, even if they rotated this, the grading would actually reduce. The limit of work will not change,
Mhm.
even if they change the position of the structure. So I would suggest let's look at the limit of work and the potential for sedimentation
Mhm.
towards that versus the angle. I mean, maybe it'll go across the contours, or excuse me, with the contours versus across them, but we'll never go outside this limit of work, this limit of grading. Because this is what we're telling you, we're not going past this line.
So I guess per the commission members, does it matter if the plan shows the structure in this position or changing it 90 degrees? Because it is, again, outside the limit of work. Karen, would that be a problem?
Well, it's within the limit of work, right?
Oh,
So-
I'm sorry.
Right, so if they want to actually decrease the amount of grading that's required, I think that's fine.
Yep.
And they can do that. They have the right to do that as long as you know where the limit of work is.
Okay.
But to that point of grading, and I think I did mention this briefly to you, Sarah, on the site visit, was given the size of these structures and some of the grading that you're going to have to do, how are you going to attenuate any runoff from those structures so that it doesn't create any erosion down to the riverfront area? So maybe a restoration line of shrubs or something that can intercept.
Right, and that was the line. So the 100-foot line is actually where that little V is kind of where you and I stood, where you were thinking to me to plant things. That whole line, I plan on planting shrubs to not only to make my yard look prettier, but to help with the water flow. So I plan to actually plant all along there.
That's great. That will help a lot.
Yeah.
Right,
I'm sorry, David. Any additional fill, Dan, do you think that needs to be brought in, or just what's on site?
Just what's on site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karen does raise a good question though about the proposed shed and any runoff that might potentially erode the sort of steep grade between it and the river.
So you're going to use matting on that slope? What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
That's a 2 to 1. We wouldn't propose anything steeper than 2 to 1.
Okay.
Sarah, do you, with your husband's discussion, do you guys think you're going to put gutters on that shed?
No, this is just a storage shed. And like I said to you today, like, I don't even think it's going to be that big. It's just, he doesn't know what he's going to pick out. It's going to be his dad. He inherited a whole bunch of tools from his father that are very sentimental, and I want them out of my garage.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to mention that too, Sarah, is that this is the maximum size for that shed.
Right.
It may be smaller. So what I recommend, if we're just doing sheet flow or just runoff from the roof onto the ground, is we can put a berm, or not berm, but a perimeter of gravel.
Okay.
To intercept that runoff, which will reduce the impact of the raindrops onto the earth right next to the building, which should knock out the speed or the erosive capacity of the runoff.
Okay.
And I think that, by where she's showing vegetation, which, if I'm correct in understanding, Sarah, it's this area.
Yes.
Okay. So by vegetating this area, anything from this building is going to go down this contour, and be honest with you, it's going to turn to the right and go right into the swale area.
Okay.
So if we put a lot of vegetation in there, that will help attenuate any of the potential runoff issues from this building. And
Okay.
again, this building might be smaller, but let's just say it's maximum. Only half of the water goes in each direction, right? Because it'll be a pitched roof. And so they'll have a gravel berm, a gravel barrier, as it were, on the ground on both sides to knock out the erosive capacity. And as it flows over the land, it's going to want to naturally go into this area, which she will increase with vegetation with shrubs.
And Dan, you'll reflect this on the new drawings that you're gonna.
Yeah, we'll put notes in there for you for that. Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Anna, have we sent the applicant and maybe Dan a copy of our tree policy, our tree replacement policy?
No, because we haven't met to redo our tree replacement policy.
I guess that's something the commission needs to talk about, but we did adopt it. So in my opinion, it is in effect. It sounds like she's complying with our
Yeah. They
policy.
they took the trees out and they're saying they'll replace them with shrubs. 1-to-1.
Yep.
But maybe more based upon.
Yeah.
What they decide to do.
Yeah, in this area here, probably more than the 1-to-1 down in here, right?
And I'd like Dan to have a copy just to get his opinion on it when he has a chance to read it.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you, Anna.
Any other questions from the commission?
I have one more comment for Sarah.
Yes.
During the construction of all these different buildings, you're going to have your erosion control line up there. And you will be required to maintain that and keep it in good working order for the entire life of how long it takes you to do this. I mean, you have it for 3 years, but
Yeah, if we
So
need
keep
to
that in
replace
mind.
it. Yeah, and I did, because it's obviously we're starting with the addition with Chris, and then we're moving on to the pool hopefully next summer, and then we're doing the shed. So at any time it starts to look non-functional, I have no problem
replace it. Yep.
replacing it.
Yep.
Or maybe each time a project starts or whatever is needed.
Yep. Okay. Good.
Thank you.
You're on board.
All right, the commission comfortable with closing this? Do you want to wait? Or just have a condition, we get the new plan before it goes into effect?
Well, I would very much like to see the new plan before I vote.
I'm kind of with Tom on that as well.
Okay, so what do you want on it? Do you want, specific locations or shrubs or general areas marked where the shrubs are going? Or?
Could have that.
Hmm?
Yep. Erosion control line,
Yeah,
Okay.
any plantings.
I think a note about the gravel around the shed would be good too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as much detail as you can put on it or add to your narrative.
I
Mhm.
did send in a narrative, and I feel like did everything on the list that you guys requested and my property. So it's kind of frustrating that we have to wait another 2 weeks.
Well, unfortunately, the plan is incorrect. So it's not really, they can't approve an incorrect plan.
But
Unfortunately,
Sarah, we do much appreciate you working with us on this. So thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions? I guess we need to continue this until we get the updated plan with the limit of work in the right place and locations of shrubs. Would you put some, again, over in that corner, we're near the mulch area, some, you mentioned a couple red maples over there,
Sure.
in addition to the shrubs?
Yeah, we'll put 2 red maples to replace that one pine tree
Okay.
in this sort of flat area. Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you. Okay, then there are no further questions.
Motion, yep, here comes your motion. I'll make a motion that we continue this until our next meeting on July 26th.
I'll second.
Sorry, first, are there any comments from the audience concerning this
Oh, yeah.
project before we vote to continue? All right, thank you. So, yes, so we need a second of your motion.
I'll make a second.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right, item 4, public hearings.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item A, 558-590 Granville Road. Again, continue from 6/28/2022. Dan, could you please stop sharing your?
Yep,
plan?
sorry about that.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get out of this. There we go. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. There we go.
Bye, Dan.
Okay, Ryan, you want to give us an update?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates. So we've been in talk with DEP on their issuance comments, and we are in the process of obtaining a consultant to conduct a wildlife habitat study due to some of the thresholds for alteration That has not been completed yet, so we're requesting a continuance for tonight.
Thank you. So entertain a motion to continue until 7:26.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second,
All in favor, Lauren,
yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Yes,
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Item B, 0 Bayberry Lane, Samuel Shokov. So in accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, public hearing will be held at 6:30 PM on Tuesday, July 12, 2022, by virtual meeting regarding a notice of intent submitted by Samuel Shokov for construction of a single-family home, associated site improvements at 0 Bayberry Lane, 46R-59 and 46R-60 in Westfield.
Mr. Chairman, I probably should have stopped you sooner, but I think if I understood what Anna was trying to direct us to, we might want to deal with the enforcement order 5B before we deal with 4B.
Now, this is a different site.
Same site,
It is the same site?
same one.
Yeah, so if you look at 5B,
No, this is not. This is the one up the street, correct?
I've marked them wrong because yeah, 5B and yeah, same parcels. 0 Bayberry Lane, the Shokov property, and 0 Bayberry Lane, same parcels. So I would recommend that you guys take 5B out of order, considering the enforcement has to do with the notice of intent proposed.
All right, entertain a motion, take 5B out of order.
I'll
So
make that,
moved.
I'll second
Second.
Carl's motion.
All right, all in favor, Carl,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you.
Now, with that said, Brian, do you have information on your plan that addresses 5B?
Yes, so we're proposing a notice of intent for work in the buffer zone.
Yes, I understand that, but as far as the enforcement order,
So the enforcement order was for unpermitted clearing in the buffer zone, and we're folding that work into a notice of intent under proposed work.
And what would the restoration be in that proposed plan?
Right.
I think is what Tom's trying to
yes.
get at.
Okay, so here's my, the plan here. Only a very small area within the 50 was cleared. This area over here, and that was in relation to a perk test, technically an exempt activity. But we're proposing 3 red maple trees to be planted in that area. And then the remaining buffer zone area outside the 50 is part of the limit of work for the proposed development.
Brian, how many trees were removed outside of the 50-foot, but within the 100-foot?
I don't have a count for that.
Would it be more than 10? Would it be more than 20?
I would say 10 or less, probably.
Uh-huh. Guys, again, I wonder if we have a tree policy, if it should, this is where it should apply, right?
But
You-
if I can just add, I'm very confused as to the jurisdiction of when this comes into play, because this is a new development, similar to like the Gila North Road project last meeting. We're proposing to put up a house in a yard, so there's no room to do supplemental mitigation plantings.
Yeah, a tree policy as written is a little bit problematic in that it doesn't specify how that applies.
Well, then sometime tonight, I'm going to make a motion that we rescind our tree policy. What sense does it make to have a policy if we waive it every time there's a tree that's cut down or several trees that are cut down? I would argue that this is a violation. I'm sorry you don't have room, but there must be something that could be done to.
proposing to restore the inner 50, but
Yeah.
but the
you're putting-
violation is going to be as part of the work zone under a notice of intent.
So your solution is to plant 3 maple trees, correct?
For the area within the 50 that was altered, yes.
Right.
Which is what the commission requested of them, was to restore the 50 feet. That was the motion.
Thank you. Again, Tom, we can take your suggestion under advisement later on in the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so entertain a motion to close the EO and let them continue with the NOI.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
You have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Lauren,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well, thank you. Okay, Ryan, we're back. Okay, entertain a motion to resume, again, 4B in regular order.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor, Lauren,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Okay, Ryan. On to the NOI.
Thank you. So as stated, there was a wetland over here, this hatched area. The 50-foot buffer zone is located here. Mr. Shokoff bought the property, and his original intent from the get-go was to build a house for himself here. So this is the house, approximately 28 by 54 feet, with a 2-car garage off to the side. He would have a driveway that would make a kind of a horseshoe shape from Bayberry Lane and connecting to the other. The septic system is located over here. This is where valid perks were obtained on the property. Groundwater was about 20 inches down. So this would be a mounded up system, but we would blend it into the existing grade of the hillside. The house would have a walkout basement. This would be the low side, walkout on grade. And then if you drive up the driveway, it climbs to the first floor of the house in the garage, which is relatively within 2 feet or so of the road, the other side of Bayberry Lane. Because this is on a slope, the property slopes here, kind of to the bottom left corner of the page. The upper side where the house is placed on the kind of midway up the slope. So uphill of the house would be a cut to existing grade. These are the proposed contours. And then downhill of the house would be a fill to existing grade. Our septic tank is located here. Our leach field is located here outside of the 50-foot buffer zone per Title V. Our limit of work is shown as this silt fence line, which stays outside the 50-foot buffer at all times. There'd be an anti-tracking pad installed at both construction entrances. Any slopes 3 to 1 or greater would have a erosion control blanketing installed. And then we have our roof leader downspouts and our foundation drains would discharge on grade within the yard area, one located approximately here next to the driveway, and then one located in a gully behind the septic system. And all the flow is still going to the wetland system as is pre-existing conditions. Right now, there's a little bit of a swale along the road, and there's a catch basin right next to the road. So eventually all this water would still be going to that same point. And as required, the 50-foot buffer zone that was altered due to the perk test would be restored through the planting of 3 red maple trees. Aside from that, I think that hits all the key points.
I have a question, Ryan.
Sure.
Uphill, you said you're going to do a cut. How are you going to stabilize that cut?
Sure. So obviously the trees will have to be removed, stumps removed, excavate back into the slope to achieve these grades, and then loam applied, and then erosion control blanketing would be stapled into the slope and then allowed to revegetate, and that would be maintained as lawn.
Okay, so you're not putting any kind of wall in there to hold it?
No, no wall. Nope.
Okay. All right, thank you. Other questions from the commission?
Yeah, Ryan, you mentioned that you would remove some material from what I guess from the sheet would be sort of the upper right corner, and fill it down in. Would the amount of material be roughly equal, or you're going to need to bring anything in? Or for that matter, remove anything?
That I'm not sure. I haven't calculated that.
Okay.
My guess is there would probably be excess on site once they dig the foundation for the house, and then this cut on the uphill side. They probably would have extra. There's about a 4-foot cut on this hillside, and then the fill down here is only about 2 feet or so. So just based on area, my guess is there'd be a surplus.
All right, thank you.
Ryan, what do you mean by up at the top of the very top right of the drawing, proposed tree line? What is that? What do you mean by that?
So right now it's all forest, so, you know, there'd be no, I guess at the limit of work is where the forest would start. Just trying to show an envelope of where the forest would remain.
So there's going to be a whole mess of trees that are cut down within the 100-foot boundary. Is that correct?
Yes, this area right in here. Yep, this is the 100-foot boundary.
And it's pretty much all trees right now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are those the current trees that you have labeled like by the septic system, the pine tree? Are
Yeah,
those
so
going to be cut down?
yes, those would be removed. So this existing tree line just kind of shows the limits of clearing that occurred a few months ago. And then we located just some lone standalone trees that they had left for whatever reason within that clearing. But all the trees within the limit of work would have to go due to the site grading here.
Okay, other questions from the commission?
Do we have DEP comments?
Let me pull those up.
Muted.
The
Yeah,
file
we
number?
got them. We have a file number 333-818. I think there was like 2 comments. One had to do with the latitude and longitude being incorrect, and it was corrected, and the other had to do with
Well, that's the
some
next,
other minor thing that I can't
We're
remember.
we're on C, and
no, we're on
I mean,
B.
excuse me, we're on B, not C.
The latitude's on the next one.
It was, I believe it was the same comments.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, unless I'm getting them completely mixed up.
One moment, I'll bring those up.
Thank you.
So here are the comments. Comment number 1, the property owner and booking page number do not match those listed in Mass Mapper. Please confirm. So Mass Mapper is usually a little bit behind and outdated, but Samuel Shokov is the owner. And then number 2, the applicant must identify the method for resource area boundary delineations, Mass DEP, BVW field data forms, etc. Please attach the documentation of the methodology. So I have not done that yet, but I can provide that. Those were the only 2 comments.
Mhm.
Booking page, latitude, longitude.
All right, so these are basically administrative comments.
Yes.
Yep. So have you corrected the first one?
There was nothing wrong. The Mass DEP information is outdated, the Mass Mapper information. So our information is correct.
All right. And the second one you're still working on, you said?
Yes.
Right. Since we're dealing with potential order of conditions, do you want this administrative addition to be part of a special condition, or does the commission want to wait another 2 weeks to get that information?
In this case, I think I'm all right with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, DEP's concerns seem pretty minimal
Okay,
to me.
all right, thank you. All right, any other questions or comments from the commission? All right, any questions or comments concerning this project from anyone in the audience?
I have to read like 3 letters from concerned Bay Area butters.
Okay,
All right, so first letter is, me and my husband live on Bayberry Lane across from where this gentleman wants to build, from what I understand, a 5,000 square foot barndominium. I don't see this as a one-family home. This house and the other proposed houses are to be built on wetlands. Just go look at the water in the holes that are there from their clearing of the land. This area gets very wet, especially in the spring. The road is not the best of repair and gets worse. Oh my God, sorry, I hate thunder. A lot of the runoff has come from the area he has stripped of vegetation, thus increasing the damage to the road. Years ago, there was a for sale sign on that land. I asked the realtor if it had parked. She said no, but it will. It had not parked in the past, and a few days later, the sign was gone. I stopped where there was action this spring and asked what they were doing. I was told that they were testing it to perk. I said that it hadn't in the past, and he told me we will make it perk. Now it is nothing but a wet mess with runoff to further damage an already wet area. Leslie and Tom Perry at 62 Bayberry Lane.
It's
Um,
dated rather recent, Anna.
Yes, that is from the 8th, so 4 days ago.
When you guys were out there, were you walking in water? Is it as wet as she makes it sound?
So the wetland is where Ryan has maps. And the site right now has been disturbed because it's been cleared. So there are holes where there is water, but it is not a wetland.
Is
I
she
can speak
talking
to that.
where they
I
did
can-
spurt test?
I
I
can
don't know
speak to
where
that
she's
a
talking.
little bit. So groundwater is shallow there within 20-ish range. So there were some areas in the clearing out front where they pulled the stumps and it leaves a 3-4 foot hole. And so obviously that's below the groundwater table at early spring when they probably saw it. So it filled up, but that has all since receded.
We good for the next letter?
I mean, when we were out there last week, I didn't see any standing water.
No.
No, no.
Okay, next letter.
Next letter. My name is Laura Puth. I have lived at 44 Bayberry Lane in Westfield since 2005 in the retirement home of our dreams. We have lived it here, but the roads have always been in bad shape, even soon after being repaired each time. My husband recently passed away. Since then, I've spent the past 5 years living totally changed existence due to the accident. It left me with debilitating back injuries, including continuous chronic pain from spinal compression fractures and nerve damage. This included many episodes of suddenly becoming paralyzed in both legs, being unable to get up, sit in place, or walk. With additional health issues, I have needed to call 911 for frequent assistance and transport to Noble Hospital. I need to use PVTA to get to most medical appointments. I have been mostly homebound otherwise. Bayberry Lane is so torn up this year that I'm afraid of having further injury done and increased pain from over the huge potholes. I'm afraid that emergency access may become non-existent if the road washes away totally, and I cannot imagine what could happen. I see that the road seems to be like the edge of a swimming pool holding back the water of the lots, yet most actual dirt, here it is sand, is gone and tons of big boulders have been left behind. How can they even dig a foundation? I do not understand. I don't have the expertise, but we must depend on you who do. Please stop and please help Bayberry Lane. That one I did forward to DPW because it's more of a DPW problem, but concerning the roads, but kind of the same. I spoke to this woman too on the phone, and she was kind of the same thing of more construction, the road is going to get worse. We do wetlands. So
Okay, next one.
next one I have to pull up on my phone because I took a photo of it. This one was anonymous. It says, "Dear committee, I would like to remain anonymous, but I do have several areas of concern with all the recent activity within the Bayberry Lane."
You know what? I don't read anonymous letters. If the rest of the commission wants to hear it, fine, but if a person doesn't want to put their name to a letter, then I consider it to be meaningless. Anybody join me on that? Or do you want to hear an anonymous letter?
I mean, you never know, they might come back and watch the meeting on YouTube
Well, then
to see
they
if
should
the
know
questions were
that I
answered.
invite them to come back and contact us directly, but give us your name. Tell us who you are. I'll just shut my ears if you guys want her to continue.
Don't listen, Tom, don't listen.
I'm not listening.
I appreciate your comment, Tom, and I tend to agree, although I guess I'm willing to listen to hear what they have to
Technically,
say.
you do
but-
have to listen to the public opinion.
Mhm.
But
Go
yes,
ahead,
I had
Amanda.
the same thing of, it's an anonymous letter, how can I respond to it if they're asking me questions? So this abutter lists these concerns. The lots in question are extremely wet, especially in the spring. The town has done numerous repairs in the roads with the freezing and thawing that takes place. Other lots nearby are being stripped of all vegetation, causing road erosion during heavy rain, and this construction will only make it worse. The sewer drains here do not do much in diverting the rainwater and causes water runoff directly into the Bayberry flooding area. Number two, we had to have an elaborate septic system, large tanks, large leach fields. How can the placement of the septic tank be so close to the buffer zone be okay, especially with the size of the home they are looking to build? Number three, what will be done to ensure the water runoff and erosion is not going to be an issue for abutting neighbors? Number four, did the commission ever walk the property after the delineation was completed? I don't recall the committee speaking about this at a prior meeting. It seems that should have been discussed before the intent to build was filed. And number five, the wetland signs. Will wetland signs be posted in the area as previously asked by commission? Thank you for your time, concerned abutting Bayberry neighbor. That's all I got.
Mhm. Well, we have walked the property more than
Multiple
once
times.
since the delineation was put in place. So I think we agree with the delineation.
Yes.
Um,
The neighbors are correct. The road will get further beat up once construction begins. Ryan, the contours that you are showing on this site plan, do they push water into Bayberry Lane when there's a rain event?
So right now, all the contours are going towards Bayberry Lane. From my recollection, I don't believe there is a curb in this segment of the street. So water, if there is no sway along the road, will just sheet flow onto the pavement. Under proposed conditions, I tried to keep the design so it's directing water away from the road as much as I could. So this slope up here above the house, I put a swale in this flat area, think of like a terrace before it starts to climb up the hill. And that's going to catch sheet flow from the hill, direct it to a swale around the septic system and more directly towards the wetland, as opposed to overland flow to Bayberry Lane here, like under existing conditions. There will be sheet flow from the driveway that goes to a swale just before the road, but we're increasing the depth or the integrity of the swale along the road so that that flow gets to the catch basin. Right now, there really isn't much alongside the road there. So, we're making efforts to improve the drainage and keep things from going into Bayberry Lane directly.
How about that corner where the proposed well is, Ryan? Is that going to?
So right now we're leaving this forested strip here. There's really not much site grading going on over here. At this point, there's a low point in the driveway, and that would catch runoff from this segment of driveway. So this is sloping down from Bayberry to a low point at the driveway, and then it's climbing back up to the garage. So at this point, there'd be a little bit of a pool that gets caught and then guided off to the side. But we're talking, 20 or 30 feet of driveway-ish.
So there is forested area between Bayberry and the driveway.
This area right here, yes.
Mhm. Okay, and to the left of the other driveway entrance, you said you're going to put in a swale?
Yep, you can see these proposed contours, 371, 370. So the idea is to catch this water in the low spot near the walkout basement yard area, as well as the foundation drain outlet, and catch that in the swale, run it along the road to that catch basin within the wetland.
Okay, so perhaps less water will go out onto the street.
That's the hope.
Okay,
There would also be curtain drains, behind the house foundation wall, so that might help some of the
Mhm.
discharge on site.
all right.
Ryan, thank you for thinking of this kind of stuff, knowing that it would be an issue in this area.
Sure, yeah, we always, good practice to try and eliminate sheet flow to roadways. Most town, especially when you go to apply for a driveway permit later on, that comes up, so.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one question for Ryan.
Mhm.
Did you consider dry wells, or is that even an option here? I don't know where your groundwater is, but for that concern, I think that I'm hearing from the commission about flow onto the road, which I think is a legitimate concern of the neighbors. Is that an option?
We don't have a lot to work with due to groundwater elevations. There's only about 20 something inches down, seasonal
Mm.
high groundwater.
Mm.
We could perhaps, you could put some in the higher fill areas, but then you wouldn't get a gravity from the drains to those locations. So,
Right.
yeah, it might be effective in summer months, but when you have your spring and fall months and groundwater's high, they'd just be submerged, I would think.
It wouldn't be helpful around the actual building itself, so you think you don't have enough room?
No, there's room. Just the problem is you'd be within the groundwater table.
Yeah, that's what I meant, room, yeah. Yeah. Just trying to think of alternatives.
No, that is a good idea. If that groundwater issue wasn't the case here, I definitely would be in favor of that.
Mm. Thank you.
The outfall that's going towards the left, the bottom one,
Mhm.
how are you going to stabilize that?
So there'd be an armored stone riprap flared end outlet there.
Okay,
Yep. Let's
And-
say, I don't have a detail of that,
Right.
but
and that's
Yeah,
the
that
best location for that one?
yes. So we wanted to put it down gradient of the driveway, so we're not washing out our driveway. And we didn't have the elevations to get it over to here because there's a septic tank and a sewer line in the way. So, yeah, that's kind of we were limited based on where the leach field had to go.
So you
We
didn't want to
could've-
put,
Go ahead, sorry.
you didn't want to put any farther to the left?
So it daylights on existing grade here. I mean, we could continue it farther, but then we're getting into the town property. And I mean, we could go a little farther, 20 feet farther or so. We could certainly do that. I just wanted to give it room to disperse before it got onto the town property.
Okay. Well, it seems like the main focus of those three letters was water
Right.
getting onto Bayberry.
Right.
And it seems like
Yes.
your mitigations here, and especially with the new swale, would help to alleviate that.
One of the letters also mentioned signage. Is any signage gonna go up on the property?
As always, yeah, I'm shame on me. I should have put it on the plan, but yes, we can put signage along the limit of work. That's no problem.
Nice observation, Lauren.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Do you have sign off from health department yet?
We have not submitted septic plans to the Board of Health yet, no.
Do you anticipate any problems with that? If you would have to, if they would require you to change that, that may affect this application.
I don't foresee any changes. We've sized the system based on the design flows. It's elevation wise. It's all roughed out. I mean, we pretty much designed the septic, just haven't submitted it yet. So it's been designed to Title V standards. So I don't foresee any changes needing to happen.
Is that a concern, Karen, if we approve this?
Only if Health Department did not approve of what we're seeing and they had to alter it in some way.
Right,
That's my
yeah.
only concern. Yeah.
In which case we would come back to you with a revised plan.
But this would be closed. So for a notice of intent, that's my concern. You know, do you want to, I mean, you're not going to be building this next week. So do you want to go through Health Department, keep this open to make sure that that is copacetic with them? And then you get commission's approval.
I'm pretty confident. I mean, we really have no other option or location here, so.
But
I
if we
think
approve,
we'd like to get conservation approval first, and then we'd submit to Board of Health, and if things change, we can come back with an amended order or something.
Could
Can
they
that be a
submit
special
to
condition?
us?
It would
Yeah,
have to
could
be,
they
it have to
submit
be a
it
new
us?
order though, right? It have to be a new order? Well, depending, but yeah, I
Depending,
guess
yeah.
that's your risk. That's the risk you're taking. You recognize it. Okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
what is your time frame for Board of Health?
With the end of this week is we could submit, usually turnaround times 2 weeks or so.
I know that Tommy's out right now, so Chris was kind of overloaded with work too.
Yeah, are they going to do any construction before they get approval by the Board of Health?
that-
Maybe, I doubt it. I mean, he wouldn't want to invest any more in the property if it's not viable, so he'd probably wait till he had all permits in hand.
Could we make it a condition that they have to submit to us approval from BOH prior to construction?
We do that regularly, but
Okay.
the concern is if the Health Department looks at their plans and changes them, and we've already approved a certain configuration, if that makes a change, then they actually have to do a new notice of intent if it changes it significantly. So Ryan gets it. So that's my concern. But yeah, many times the commission, I'm sure the commissioners remember, you know, a condition saying before, and you know, you put a shovel in the ground, you got to put submit approval from the Health Department to the commission. Common.
That sounds like a reasonable condition.
But, I mean, that seems to be the only place where a septic system could go.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And Ryan's pretty confident, so.
Well, it's their money, I guess, if they have to do
Right,
another NOI.
right, right.
Because once we approve this, that's it.
Mhm.
So are you that confident, Ryan? So, you know, you're suggesting we close the meeting tonight?
Harry.
The hearing?
Yes, if we have to revise things later on, we'll address it then, but this is the only option for a septic area as of now.
All right. The last call, any other questions or comments from the commission? All right, seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Did you ask for public comment, David?
I did before. That's
Did you?
when we got the 3 letters.
In that case, I'll give you a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, I have one quick comment. I'm just looking at the plans, looking at the erosion control line, and it really should connect the front of the property by the septic. It doesn't enclose the entire property, so unless I'm not seeing it. Wait a minute. Am I not seeing it?
Where are we talking here?
It does
Oh,
go
no,
across.
it does. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I am wrong. I didn't have my glasses on.
It's okay, a lot of
Never
lines
mind.
going on.
Never mind.
Oh, you mean the silt fence at the bottom?
Yeah, I didn't see the line there. That's all.
Okay.
That's all. So they're covered. Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yep, I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Tom,
Yes to close.
Lauren,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right, you want to post the orders, Anna?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, here we go. So there's, all right, there's no SWIP involved here. 52 D
Grabbing my
recording,
mouse.
yes. DEP sign, yes. D restriction language, yes. There's no wildlife habitat involved. 56, yes. 57, yes. 58, yes. 59, yes.
So we don't have a construction sequence, so that's going to be something, Anna, that you'll look for.
Okay. 60, yes. 61, yes. 62, yes. And 63. And 64. There's no 65. 66, yes, they're putting markers up,
We want markers, you want signs?
or aren't they same?
Two different.
All right.
So
All right, let's do 67 then. Okay. All righty.
So what do you want for signs and
Yeah.
be specific? It's usually every 50 feet or change in direction.
We got some
Last time I
changes.
wasn't given specifics and I called Karen and I'm like, what do you think they would do?
And typically you guys have done every 50 feet or every wind change in direction.
I thought
Usually.
we did have a policy on that, Karen. Didn't we?
Sorry?
We never adopted a policy about every 50 feet. I thought there was standard language.
This is right here. Yeah.
It's right
it's
there,
right here.
number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, do A and B.
Yeah.
Okay.
And David, what's 66? Can we do both?
Well, those are markers like boulders and stuff like that. Signs are fine on that single
I
family
agree.
like that.
I thought it was something else. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Line size, 12 by 18.
Yeah, the typical sign, Ryan knows what they are.
And I never really got a good answer. We do have a policy, don't we, Karen? Didn't we?
No, this is it. No, we didn't ever institute a policy. We incorporated it as a condition.
So we never made up just something real simple on one page of paper that we send to the applicants or?
Nope, this is it. This is what they get when they get their permit.
You get to make the decision right now, right here, what you want.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, there's no comp storage.
Uh-uh.
There's no temporary basins.
Mm.
No, 70 wouldn't be appropriate, I don't think.
No, because we have a limit of work.
Right. There's no permanent basins. No salt.
Not for private home.
I don't
Right.
think so
Yeah,
either.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to 75, I think.
Mhm.
Well. Okay, yeah.
So 75, yes.
Oh, my computer's frozen. Please hold. Work with me. Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right, 76, yes. And 77, yes. Okie dokie. Probably 79 will be a good one because they're cutting into
Mm.
the side of the hill?
Yeah,
Okay. There's no catch basins involved, no grease traps. There's no stormwater structures. Wait, go back. Okay, well,
they
construction.
actually are having a construction entrance.
yeah,
They
there's
put
two
on
of
their
them.
plans, so you
Yeah.
might as well put that in there, yeah.
He did mention me putting mats there. Okay, keep going. Thank you. All right, there's no environmental monitor. There's no dewatering. There's no dredging. There's no replication. Okay, permanent stabilization.
Mhm.
Okay, 108 to and 109. Okay. Future buyer, yes. 111, we don't.
No, there's no stormwater.
Mm.
No stormwater.
How about maintenance of their outfalls?
Well, it doesn't fall under stormwater.
No. We could add a special condition that they
Yeah,
keep them maintained.
yeah, free
Okay.
and clear of debris, something like that.
Okay. So we'll add that as a special condition.
So I think you missed 109, yeah.
It's highlighted all the way.
Oh,
up
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
here. Where would you like to add that as a special condition before future of these orders or after?
Yes.
Okay. So. Upon completion of construction. I'm gonna put it right after 108.
Sure.
Maintenance
What do you call them? Outfalls? I'm not sure what the technical
What did he
term.
call them on the plan? Call up the plan, because he did call them something, so.
Give me a second.
So you might want to say something like outfalls or whatever the terminology is, shall be cleared of debris annually, something
Yeah.
like that.
And there's two outfalls from the, from the rain from the house.
Right.
Drain flared end outlet.
Okay,
Okay, so he's calling it an outlet.
all right.
So you could say, I don't know if they call them curtain drains, you could say curtain drain outlets to be maintained annually of debris removal, something like that. Yeah. Debris.
All right, so I would get rid of the first maintenance and the of.
Yeah, I hit delete by accident. Okay, it decided, okay, whatever.
So say curtain drain outlets, so start with that.
Yeah. I just looked at it and I was like, there's two there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Excellent. Okay, any other special conditions?
We did have the trees. I don't know if you want to reflect that because they're on the plans. What else? Any additional fill or let me say, any additional materials removed from the cut and fills should be removed from the site. You don't want them throwing any stuff in the wetlands.
Isn't that technically already a condition? It's like one of the very first ones.
You can say just any materials generated from the project shall not remain on site, you know.
Yeah,
Tree-
any materials
tree
placed in the
trees.
recess area.
Right. Well, no, that's
Mhm.
different. That's different.
Okay.
We'll just add it as a special condition at the end,
Yeah,
you know. Any extra fill shall be removed from the site.
or, cutting of trees, stuff like that, because they're gonna be removing a lot of vegetation. You don't want them throwing it in the wetland.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right, bond,
Oh, Jim.
yeah.
Hmm. It's buffer zone.
Mhm. Mhm. What's typical for a single family, 5,000? Or is that too much?
2,500 is what the past few have been that we have issued COCs for.
Well, okay. You know, it is a small wetland there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's buffer zone and single family.
All right, so 2,500 is suggested. What do you think? Rest of the commission
Absolutely.
okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And keep going, I think. Is that the last one?
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, thank you. All right, anything else? All right, then I entertain a motion to approve the order of conditions as written.
Carl, you're on mute.
Oh, wait, we're gonna add something about that administrative material they need per the DEP order, or the DEP suggestion.
Oh, right.
Um,
Yeah, we were also gonna talk about septic approval.
The
We did
septic
that.
approval is a condition.
We
Yeah,
did
we
that.
got, we
Right.
got that, Tom, yeah.
Um,
So you could simply
So-
say, submit material that complies with the DEP. Comments,
Comment
something
number
like that.
2. yeah.
Right, prior to any work, information shall be submitted to the DEP and the commission, answering DEP comments, something like that.
I
What's
put
that?
that as number 70.
Okay. All set?
All good.
All right, there's no other additions to the orders. Then I entertain a motion to approve the orders as written.
So moved,
You have a
now
second?
that I'm not on mute.
You have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Tom,
I'll vote yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right, thank you, Ryan. All right, item C,
Thank you.
396 Prospect Street Extension. In accordance with provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, public hearing will be held at 6:30 PM on Tuesday, July 12, 2022, by virtual meeting regarding a notice of intent submitted by Lori and Eugene Kurtz for construction of a garage addition at 396 Prospect Street Extension in Westfield. And we do have DEP comments. Here's the one about latitude and longitude. Ryan?
Yes, everyone.
This is your project too, correct?
Yep. Ryan
Okay,
Nelson from R. Levesque Associates for the record. Here's our site plan. So this is a bit of a unique circumstance, if I can give everyone some background history to this site. So this is located near the Y intersection of Prospect Street Extension and Pachasik Road. The Kurt's existing residence is this building here. Quite a few years ago, they had submitted a notice of intent to build a retaining wall and do a septic system upgrade. They have a tank and a pump chamber located in the backyard that pumped around up to the septic. And as part of that NOI, they also had included filling of a BVW near Pachasik Road and then replication. So that work had been completed. However, the addition or proposed addition at the rear of the home was proposed at the time, but it was never completed. So only the wetland crossing and replication work was completed. One of the DEP comments was whether or not a certificate of compliance had been issued for that work. And I believe it was. Anna can back me up on that if I'm incorrect.
Yeah, March 20th, 2000, the COC was issued.
Okay.
Okay.
So fast forward 20 something years, and the property owner would like to construct that addition at the rear of the building. So we recognize that where the building was formerly proposed, if I flip back to, this is the old NOI plan. This is what they were intending to do at the time, a 30 by 30 garage, and then maybe a 16 by 20 addition off of that. On this plan, only the 100 foot wetland buffer was shown. The 50 wasn't shown, but presumably most of this addition fell within the 50. We acknowledge the Westfield's new bylaw regarding work in the 50. So the homeowners have shifted their proposed layout to try and be as conforming as possible to the 50 foot. So we're keeping most of the proposed addition, this outline building here, with the exception of maybe a little bit of a corner here outside the 50. And then there's an existing dirt drive here that was installed, and they would just be continuing that with some gravel up to the garage door faces of this addition. So the limit of work would stay the same as what was originally proposed, just a silt fence going off the back of the house down to where the driveway work would resume, and then back up to that existing retaining wall. This is all taking place within existing lawn area. There'll be no cutting or removal of trees necessary, and very little change to grade. We're just maybe filling up half a foot or so, adjusting to get a nice slope up to the entry of that garage or barn area. So this is just buffer zone work within an existing lawn area.
all right, questions, anyone?
So you say no trees will be removed, is that right, Ryan?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the design looks different from what we discussed out at the site last week.
At the site, Ryan had said that only like a small corner butted in and then went along the retaining wall. So
Right,
that is what is here
yeah,
being presented.
okay. Ryan, that shed, is that being removed or staying?
That's staying.
That's staying, okay.
So administrative question. Ryan, you said the first project that got approved,
Mhm.
some of the work was done, the restoration piece, but none of the actual work. Is that the case?
No, so some of the work, they put in the crossing, but they never built the actual structure. So this was a contiguous BVW.
Mm-hmm.
They filled it and they put in a culvert pipe, a balance pipe underneath the road. So that was completed. They just never built the addition.
And they did the replication for that?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, part of that certificate of compliance request packet, Kate Bednaz at the time, she did a nice write-up on that and what the changes were and how things panned out.
Okay. Thank you.
Ryan, when was this project approved?
Uh,
March
I-
20th, 2000.
2000.
Thank you.
That's when the
The-
COC was issued anyways,
Right.
as far as approval.
Ryan, the application language indicated that the driveway is being widened. Is that true? Or did I not understand that?
So the crossing area is staying the same, but they're widening the driveway up to the face of the barn.
The 2000 approval, how large was that? This is 1,300 square foot structure.
Let's see here. So that's what, 900 feet, and then. Oh, the original structure was about 1,220 square feet. And the proposed is 1,360. So we're 100 feet or so square feet more.
So they originally planned to build 2 sheds? Is that what?
Yes, this was the original proposal some years ago. And then when
Oh, that shed is to be removed, is what it says.
right, that was the old proposal. Now they want to keep the shed. When I met with the homeowners before we submitted this NOI, we talked about the 50-foot buffer zone restrictions, and they were worried about, the commission's interpretation of that and whether or not a structure would be allowed within the 50. And time was of the essence, and they really wanted to get this up because they need a place to store their equipment. So we tried to be as conforming as possible.
So back to the current proposal,
Yep.
Any
Okay.
fill that needs to come in?
Very little, like I said, maybe 6 inches right in here, that 84 contour, that existing one you're bringing down, about 6 inches at the most.
20 years later, how does the replication area look?
So I redelineated the site without looking at the replication area on the old plans, and I couldn't tell where it was. So it's there, but it's
Hey,
blended.
that's good.
Yeah, it looks good.
Excellent. All right, other questions about this particular project? Again, they're keeping it, outside the 50, except for a couple little corners. But it's, it looks like it's, better than the previous one where you had one of them inside the 50.
Just a slab or a basement? Just footing?
Just a slab, no basement.
Okay.
Okay, and it'll sit up against that retaining wall.
Mm.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Nope.
Any questions or comments from the audience concerning this particular project? All right. Seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay,
I'll make a second.
okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Yes, well, thank you. Okay, so let's look at the orders.
Don't worry, I'm getting there.
Okay.
What's his address? 39. 356.
Aaron, it looks like you're in a jungle. Are you in your house?
I am, I'm in front of my ficus, my 12-foot ficus.
Yeah,
You know, I was really tempted the other day. I went to a nursery and they had elephant trees, like the elephant meat
Mm.
trees. And I was like,
Mm.
I want all of them.
Okay, we'll skip 51. 52, yes. 53, yes. 54, yes. 55, no. 56, yes. 57, yes. 58, yes. 59, yes. 60, yes. 61, yes. 62, yes. 63, yes. 64, no. 65, no. 66, no. 67, no.
why no?
I don't think we need markers. There's already a
No,
clear,
I agree. I'm thinking of signage.
well, there's a clear demarcation between the grass and the wetland out there already.
All right, you know the site, I don't.
And it's up, I mean, the others that were out at the site, do you think we need signs out there?
No,
It's very much wetland lawn
Right.
house.
Right. I think it's okay the way it is.
It would keep, well, I guess 20 years later, they haven't crept, hopefully, but
Right.
signs would keep that lawn from getting larger and larger. And
Yeah,
Large.
that's the purpose of them.
Well, we could put a couple signs out there, but I think 2 would be sufficient.
thank you. I'd feel better about that.
How, you think 2 would be enough, Karen or Anna?
Mark them on the plan, or at least describe where you want them.
it could always be on either side of that driveway, and then it could kind of mark where the wetland is on each side.
Let me pull up the plan.
Yeah, looking for from the house towards Pachasik. You know, probably one in the middle. And then one on the other side of the driveway as Lauren suggested. I think 2 would be plenty.
Right.
Okay, who's posting that?
This is
Yeah,
me.
but I'm glad it's there. So at some point, we must have talked about erosion controls, right? And they look good.
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, Anna, do you see where it says B106?
Mm-hmm.
We could stick a sign there, I think.
Okay.
And then one over where A105,
Yeah.
one there.
Okay.
I think that would be sufficient.
Yeah.
Sign
Okay, so-
placement.
So just, you know,
You should say as noted on plans. If you're gonna mark it on the plans, just say as noted on the plan.
But they aren't currently on the plan though, so. You
Right.
know, like,
You're gonna physically
Oh.
mark on the plan, this is where we want the signs.
Okay.
And then you can give them a hard copy of that, or just make a copy of it. You know. You can say as per plan by the commission's direction or something like that.
I mean, you can give them that when you have the 48-hour meeting.
Right.
sounds good.
Okay, thanks. All right, comp storage, no basins, no trees, no basins. We don't need those either. 75, yes. 76, yes. 77, yes. I'm not sure about 79. I mean, it's a stable site. All right. Okay, so we don't need any of those. And then Roman numeral 5, there's no stormwater involved. There's no monitor involved. No dewatering, no dredging. Oops. Go back up to number 9. There's no replication. All right, 107, yes. 108, yes. 109, yes. Future buyer, yes. Okay, we don't need 11, we don't need 12. I would say probably less than the previous one.
Yeah, I would say so too. Either
Yeah.
$500, $1,000.
Yeah, let's say 1,000. There is a nice wetland there, so I think that would be sufficient. And it shouldn't
good
take them
with
long. It shouldn't take them long to complete that either. Okay, any other special conditions?
Nothing I can think of.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
All right, thank you. So, all right, entertain a motion to approve the order of conditions as written.
So moved.
Have a second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Lauren,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Item 5, enforcement. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, A, 0 Bayberry Lane. Again, continue from 6/28/2022.
Welcome back, Ryan.
Alrighty. So we had a site visit last Friday from Mr. Novanko's property. This is the updated delineation. As you can see, he owns these 3 parcels, 68, 69, and 70. 68 and 69 is where the violation occurred. Pretty much the entire site within this limit of work line was cleared, including the BVW and mostly 50-foot buffer zone to the BVW and to a small intermittent stream. Obviously, Mr. Novanko is going to be restoring the property, but his intent from the start was to build a home here. So I did bring a concept plan, or I have one ready tonight just for an informal discussion if the commission would want to entertain it. Mr. Novanko obviously spent a significant amount of his savings buying this property. And not being able to build due to the 50 is definitely a hardship for him. He has talked with the Westfield Law and Treasury Department about the abutting parcels that are owned by the city, which are upland. And unfortunately, they're not available for transfer at this time due to various reasons. So those are no longer an option for him. So, and to kind of figure out where this is headed in terms of how much we need to restore and whether or not, there's a building envelope. We have prepared a concept plan. Just give me a second here to pull it up. Just to kind of get some input from the commission, whether or not they would be comfortable with a notice of intent project that would include BVW fill for a driveway and then work within the 50-foot buffer zone. Obviously, we would expect some additional mitigation, whether that's on site or off site or whatever the commission thought was sufficient. But this is just for talking purposes, a layout of something Sergi was looking for, and that would also comply with setback for the septic system and just an overall functional design. As you can see here, this is the 50-foot buffer zone. The septic leach field would be located outside of that, but everything else would be within the 50-foot buffer zone. Obviously, there'd be replication required for the driveway fill through the wetland. We're just trying to get an idea if this is something the commission would entertain. If so, then we know, the permitting path from here, but if not, then Mr. Novenko would have to restore the whole property and unfortunately just bite the bullet on this and find somewhere else when he could afford it.
All right. Any questions from the commission?
I guess so. I'd looked at the concept plan when you submitted it, and I guess I had confused the house with the septic. So it's the septic is the only part that's outside the 50?
Correct. For new construction under Title V, it has to be outside the 50-foot buffer zone. So the septic would be above the house area, and it would need a pump chamber up to the leach field.
Okay.
If I may interject, this is an enforcement discussion,
Right.
not a proposal. So be very careful, Commission, as to what you say.
Right. And I understand that it's really a gray area. We just didn't want to, I guess, go with an all-out restoration of the entire property if for some slim chance he got permitted.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, Anna. I think the issue right now is you have to comply with the enforcement order and then approach it in a development. So how are you, I guess, complying with enforcement right now?
Give me 1 second. Our office lost power here. I'm switching to my laptop.
I think what they're looking to figure out is, do they have to restore the whole site, or would the commission be open to discussion in the future
And
on
again,
building?
that
Yeah.
is kind of an appropriate
It's it's
request.
gray area.
I get where you're going, Brian. I get where you're going, but the issue in front of the commission is the restoration and the delineation that we have today.
And I think it was discussed on the site visit, maybe looking back at the delineation at the end of the growing season, just because it's only at about 25% growth, and seeing how much can come back.
Yeah, that seems as if it would be a reasonable place to start. In addition to any kind of thoughts of what to do in the future, that it would need to have a pretty clear delineation.
Correct.
And so, yeah, so I'm waiting until we have more growth, I think makes sense.
So
But you suggested waiting till the fall till we take a look at it again?
Yeah, so we know a little bit better what we're actually dealing with.
So in my opinion, there's a pretty good herbaceous cover that has come back. So I'm not sure waiting till fall much will change. It's not like you're going to have trees popping up in that amount of time. It's just your herbaceous stuff is there. You're going to be looking at the same species come fall time. I'd just be concerned with, now when it comes time to do the restoration work, you have a fully vegetated site. Just seems counterintuitive that you'd have to regrade it all, clean it, and then replant it again. So it'd probably be best to do it while it's fresh.
Ryan, what was the extent of the butchery that was done on this property? How many trees fell?
Oh, I couldn't even give you an estimate. It was all taken away and the stumps were removed in their entirety and ground and taken away. So it's just pits and mounds of stump holes and dirt. I really have no idea.
Yeah, so like Karen is saying, have you put together a remediation plan?
Not yet. We just had the meeting on Friday on the revised delineation boundary. But
Yeah, that's where you should be headed.
Yep, understood.
And if I may, given that we have a roughly 20 to 30% vegetative cover, if we're basing that delineation solely on that limited volume of data, I would recommend waiting at least to the end of the year, if not further, to get a good indication, because we're basing it on vegetation alone. Hydrology was disrupted, soils were very disrupted. So what's left? We have the seed bank.
Mhm.
So Karen, you feel there's a chance that Ryan's delineation would be different if he were to do it?
I really think it's really close from what David and I had saw early on from the soil change. But if we're basing it legally on what vegetation we're seeing today, we have a very limited database. I mean, we've got what, 2 species out there. We don't even have BVW forms. I mean, we've got very little to base it on, given the amount of disturbance. I just think it's too early.
Yep.
I got a question on restoration. I mean, they could start working on a plan, because I would think restoring the resource is gonna be different than restoring the buffer zone. Or am I not in the right direction here?
Well, yes, if you're accepting it as a BVW only. One of my other comments was, if it's a BVW, then they need to show a stream channel. They haven't shown that because, quite honestly, how do you know where it was? You
Right.
really don't. So I think, to your point, the restoration has to include stream restoration, a channel established, reestablished, vegetative cover related to what's adjacent to the property, and then go from there.
So you're assuming there was a stream there. What if there wasn't? What if it was all runoff or groundwater?
I think we don't know.
Right.
I think that's a good comment. We don't know.
Yeah.
Just from what we saw a channel. We
Yeah,
saw
we did.
enough of flow, but that was only after the disturbance.
Right.
So we're assuming there was a channel. I don't.
Yeah, I think we still have to wait and see.
Mhm.
Plus, it's been a drought last few weeks, so
True.
it's hard to gauge where, if we get a good
Plus-
rain, what's gonna happen.
According to DEP, we've been in drought season since May.
Mhm, right,
I think that's a very good comment.
yeah, so. So, I mean, Ryan, per Karen's comment, I mean, as she said, when she and I were out there very early on, when there was water out there, there was a marked demarcation between dark black soil and then the brown soil in the upland. And it does look very similar to what you're showing with your delineation, but that's not a way of showing the edge of the wetland. So I think we just need to be patient, and we need to wait a little longer.
And David, and that would include a restoration plan?
Well, I think they can start working on something, because the delineation isn't going to get smaller than what we see here, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, we can prepare a restoration plan. That's what we intended all along, just to what extent, that's
yeah.
all.
But my question was how do you restore a resource versus a buffer zone? Are there different criteria for those?
Yes, the hydrology is different, so your type of species and their wetland indicator status would change.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that answered my question. Thank you. All right, so I guess we need to continue this and, just, you want to wait a few months? You want to keep this going every 2 weeks?
I guess whatever the commission feels is a satisfactory time to review the vegetation on site.
I would recommend end of growing season, but that's just what the regulations typically look at, end of growing
Mhm.
season. It's up to you guys.
75% regrowth, end of growing season, along those lines.
That
I
would
just-
take us at least till October, wouldn't it?
Right,
Correct.
and then at which point Sergi would have to wait till next year to
Do
do the work.
restoration.
Yeah, I would suggest maybe doing it, after a month, just to see if there's
Yeah, why not?
anything happens. That'll give us,
Yeah.
middle of August and the middle of September and see. It's just waiting, for several months and then figuring it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I suggest we continue until the 9th of August.
Okay,
Is that amenable to the commission?
I'll turn that into a motion.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Again, thank you, Ryan.
yep, thank you, everyone.
All right, I already
Thanks,
did
Ryan.
B. So item C, 300 Union Street.
Oh, I guess I'm not finished.
Okay.
Hey, Ryan, welcome
Um,
back.
You're earning your money tonight, so.
Yes, give me 1 second to pull that up. Okay, so 300 Union Street, we had done an existing condition survey of the site. Essentially, there was a BVW that I've been told was a former stormwater basin, but now it's long since passed and is now a vegetated BVW. It's located here at the rear of this existing commercial building. There's an existing edge of pavement line right here, and they've cleared and added gravel in this buffer zone area on the south side of the building. They didn't actually do any work in the wetland based on what I saw. However, we're going to be submitting, I hope to submit the paperwork tomorrow, a notice of intent that would include the restoration of the 50-foot buffer zone, eliminating the gravel and planting that, and reverting it back to a forest. And then the notice of intent portion would be for a proposed gravel parking area within the outer buffer zone, and then also area outside of jurisdiction over here. So our plan is to submit an NOI that would wrap up the restoration and the proposed activities.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any questions from the commission?
I have a personal observation.
Yes.
Having been on the property years ago, I know the gravel area that's represented on the plan used to be, at least in part of the wetland. So I do believe that wetlands have been filled over time. So even though they're offering that 50-foot restoration, that's great, but I think it goes beyond that.
Mhm. But I guess how can you show that now?
I know. I look for photos because I know
Yeah.
I was on site and I remember looking at it, but I didn't take photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose you could dig down below the fill line and find the original virgin soils and see what they look like. You could request it, but depends on how far you want to go.
Yeah. All right, so I mean, it seems like they're working in the right direction, so I would suggest just continuing this until perhaps like the last one, once we get the NOI, we can just subsume this into it and close out the enforcement.
Yeah, and at least reclaim the 50-foot buffer, at least
What was
reestablish.
I'm sorry, what was required under the order? What did you guys require?
Let me see if I can pull it up.
That's an excellent question. I don't know if there's still a digital copy. I know that the physical one's sitting in my office.
Mentioned restoration, removal of gravel and debris.
I think this. Where is there anything?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a copy of that right now. Wait, I do. Hold on.
See attachment. She's all work. Remove trailer gravel mulch that was installed.
I appreciate the kind of looking forward in rolling this into a big project, but it seems kind of clear that this order asks for the immediate removal of that gravel. Is that reasonable to require that within the 50-foot since, at least since they're planning to do that as part of the NOI?
It's already been recognized under the order, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember there being quite a bit of trash in there in the wetlands as well when we were there last time.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think over time, they've just been continuously pushing even just
Mhm.
inches each year into the wetland, into the wetland, into the wetland.
Mm-hmm. It seems reasonable to mitigate damage as much as possible by removing that material as quickly as possible, rather than waiting.
So, okay, you're right. So it's technically, they're still in violation of the enforcement order
Mhm.
if they haven't moved anything yet. So,
So I guess by recognizing that, you could record in the minutes that now you have the authority to issue fines if your order since what, November of 2021 has
Mhm.
not been complied with.
mhm.
So it depends on how far the commission feels strongly about taking it, where you want to go.
Earlier tonight on Bayberry, we did exactly what Ryan is trying to do here. We rolled an enforcement into an NOI. He indicated he would be back to us in 2 weeks with an NOI. I'd be inclined to wait 2 weeks. I hear what you're saying, Carl, and we should address it. But do we want, the boys being down in the resource area twice? If he's gonna go remediate, we just did it earlier tonight. I'm not sure that's a good model, so we kind of reward the people that do the bad things and cut down the trees or fill in the streams, by allowing them to, roll it into another project. But again, I would think we can wait 2 weeks on this.
I guess I've got a concern because an NOI is good for 3 years. So, I mean, if we roll it into the NOI, they could just sit on it for 3 years.
Could you put a condition that restoration work had to be done by a certain date?
I would recommend the two be handled separately.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're different. So Tom, to your point, the first one was buffer zone,
Yeah.
clearing in the buffer zone. This one is fill in a wetland. So you have 100% violation as opposed to a buffer zone violation. So you had minimal clearing in the last one. In this one, you have fill. So I do look at them significantly differently, but I hear where you're coming from. But I think you should handle the enforcement separately on this one.
Thank you, Karen.
I think the enforcement involves immediacy, whereas an NOI does not necessarily involve immediacy. As we saw with the Prospect extension. So I think, do we want to amend the order to put a date on here? Because, again, this is starting in November 2021.
Yeah, just make the commission aware. At that time, the ground was frozen soon
Right,
thereafter,
right.
so I had to wait till about March to delineate, so.
Yeah, you're right, David. We should freshen up the timeline. That will help the applicant to know, or the violator to know that, that we're serious.
I'd be specific in dates. If you're saying you're amending the enforcement order, maybe a letter to the landowner saying that these conditions that were established in this order dated blah, 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 are now required as of 2 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now or whatever. But be specific, because that's what you're gonna hang your hat on.
Right.
Does that sound all right, Carl?
Yeah, and I'm inclined to make it 2 weeks. If come to the meeting and show us that you're making significant progress.
I
mean,
would second a motion to that effect if you
Yeah,
want to
I mean,
make one.
Yeah, I mean, they've known about it since November, and
Mhm,
Not like
they've
it's
had
new.
all spring to do the work.
mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
let's
it
give them a-
hasn't been any neglect on their own. They've been waiting for RLA to kind of give them a directive, so I'll take the blame for the delay on that.
Okay,
They've been very much so on top of things and calling me about it, so.
all right, well, let's do the 2 weeks as far as, complying with the order. And then, we'll consider the NOI.
Okay.
Is that amenable to the commission?
That sounds good to me.
I just have a comment to Karen's statement of the gravel never was there before and now it is. Looking through good old Google Earth imagery, there's clear evidence of, hey, here's a tree line, and then, hey, the tree line's gone and now it's all gravel.
Okay,
2016 is when I noticed it the most,
mhm.
that it has been extended. And the difference between 2016 and then it does look like it just kind of grows over time.
So you've got a reference point relative to the buildings as far as where the edge of the wetland was before?
Not where the edge of the wetland is, because the wetland is within a forested area, so you can see, like, I'll just share my screen. Hold on. If I can find Zoom, I can't find Zoom. Hey Ryan, can I share my screen? Thank you. So this is the parcel, and you can see here, this is all filled in. And then as you go back in time on the pictures that are at least better, the tree line kind of rose over time from where it currently is to where it was. So you can see right here is a good image in 2016 where it was definitely smaller. Because
Mhm.
now I would say it extends all the way out to like right here in comparison.
Mm.
That would be the most notable one. Because all the other ones have a lot of tree coverage on them. It was 2012
Mhm.
versus get rid of that. 2012 versus 2022. So
Mhm.
you can really see that it's been added to. It's 2016, 2012, 2022. So
Mhm.
just the Google Earth.
So I
So
guess we need a letter to go along with, to reinforce the enforcement order to be
So
implemented
essentially just reissuing the enforcement.
within, with completion within 2 weeks.
I wouldn't say reissue, just re-acknowledging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then, come to the meeting in 2 weeks. And then we can deal with the NOI separately. All right, do we have a motion for the letter?
I'll make a motion that we send a letter reaffirming the original enforcement order and requiring them to appear at our next meeting to indicate that they've complied with this, with our requirements.
All right, do you have a second?
Yeah, I'll second Carl's motion.
All right, any further discussion?
Now,
Seeing none,
Carl,
all in
you're-
favor?
Carl, I seconded, and I should have asked this first, but your motion is saying that they should have it cleaned up in 2 weeks? Or in
Yes.
2 weeks, come to us with a plan to clean it up?
Let's put it on them that they ought to clean it up within 2 weeks. That was my thought anyway.
So are they gonna be, well, I guess if they're gonna work with Ryan, they will be smart enough not to put machinery down in there and things like that. That's what's nice about having a plan, is that, then you can, then you can at least you understand how they're gonna get that stuff out of there. Unless we've already told them that, have we? That it's gonna have to be done by hand or I don't know. I mean, do we
All right,
want-
maybe
amend that?
I'm willing to take an amendment that we have them submit a detailed plan of how they're going to mitigate that area, if that seems like a better option to the committee. Commission.
I'll amend my second to reflect that. And
Okay.
thank you, Carl.
So
Yeah,
you
I
want, you want
I
the
will take
plan,
that as a friendly amendment.
so you want the plan in 2 weeks and not any action within 2 weeks?
Let's have a detailed plan in 2 weeks of exactly how they're going to restore this area.
Okay, is that amenable to everybody? Okay,
Yes.
all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you. Item D,
Thanks, Ryan.
240.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Brian.
Good night.
Item D, 240 Russellville Road.
The consultant Connor Flurry called me and he was like, "Hey, what's going on?" I told him the situation. I guess Oscar was going to hire him to clean the site and was asking an estimate of him. I gave him all the details and that's the last I heard, but he said he would keep me if he did get hired by Oscar to restore the property. He would give me a call so we could do a site visit.
All right, thank you.
So I recommend continuing it.
Okay. So a motion to continue?
So
To
moved.
This, what, 7:26, I think.
7:26. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a second,
Yep, I'll second it.
right? All in favor? Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Item 6, certificate of compliance. A, 163 Union Street. Again, the office recommends issuing the certificate.
Yeah, so this one is an old one. They filed the COC in July of last year, and when it came before the commission, it wasn't issued because the area of comp storage hadn't regrown. They had me come out there 2 weeks ago, and they showed me the comp storage. There is regrowth in it, but it is mostly gravel, like it's not soil or anything like that. So the regrowth that's there and the seeds that they have put in there, it's not, at 75%, but I would say it's about at 50%, and it could regrow more, but it might not because it's not nutritious soil.
Hmm.
So I didn't know if the COC technically could be issued or if it can't be on the standards of they want a regrowth in the comp storage. Because I just don't think it's gonna grow any more
Mhm.
than it is.
I mean, did the original order conditions or original site plan indicate gravel in the comp storage area?
So the entire property, it's Salt City. So the
Oh,
entire,
okay.
yeah, they built a berm to contain fill, and then on the opposite side of that berm is just, a gravel slope. I can pull up the,
Okay, I remember seeing that when we were out there the
Yeah.
last time. Okay.
let me pull it up. The heck is this type of file? All right, it won't let me open these files because they're attached to this email.
Okay.
I'm also comfortable issuing the CFC tonight.
I am too, after seeing the site.
Yeah. I'll give you a motion to that effect.
All right. Do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Yeah, I think they've been doing a lot out there to alleviate problems with, with water and so on. So over the last.
Yeah, everything else
years.
was in compliance as
Yeah.
far as their stormwater management. The as-built versus what's there, it matches up aside from a slight change in slope, but it's like a 1 foot change.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, so all in favor of recommending Lauren,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Item B, Armbrook.
She requested an extension, even though I already have as-built. But she said
Okay.
she needed an extension because she needed the as-built. But I also didn't get the letter stating that all erosion controls have been removed. So she said she'd give it to me eventually. So basically an extension until next time.
All right, so I need a motion to continue until
7:26.
7:26.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a second.
Yep, I'll make that second.
All right, all in favor, Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right, item 7, commission discussion. Anything under regulations and procedures? Okay, item B, tree policy. Tom, you want to make your motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we rescind our current tree policy.
Okay, do we have a second?
That makes sense to me, so I'll second it.
All right, so discussion, I think there were problems with that one. We need perhaps unforeseen, so we need to fix those and come out with a better policy, I think, so.
so we're proposing to revise that? Is that the idea?
There is a subcommittee to do that right now.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
think it's Tom, Jim, and Anna,
And Karen.
yeah, and Karen. So they're working on that right now, Carl. So,
Okay,
all righty.
sounds
So
good.
all in favor, Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes as well. Okay. Item C, wetland permit process document. Did you share these with the rest of the commission?
Yeah,
Anna?
I emailed that, but I'll pull it up here as well.
I think these are very nice.
So I took an MACC course and so did Lauren, she was there too. And they were showing like some of the commissions have this application cover sheet and checklist so they can give it to applicants so they know what they have to submit and it is required upon submittal. I have to find Zoom to share it again. Share. So this essentially would be it. You have, the date, parcel, owner name. This is all basic information that is typically on the first page of the application. The type of wetland, how many square feet or cubic feet will be affected, and then the performance standards required to meet based upon the Wetlands Protection Act. And then it has this handy dandy little checklist here. So in an NOI application, they need Form 3, the plans. What are the plans titled? Are they stamped? A narrative, proof that the standards are met, which this has been a really big issue as of late with certain project proposals that proof is not being provided that they're meeting the standards. The delineation, the fees, the butters, and then other attachments as necessary. So any of these following things. This is for my use of all the application numbers and if we have everything and then the date that it was received so it can be clearly marked and stamped. And then this is my favorite part, which is the process that we follow. So when I tell someone it's in writing, so it's basically just a detailed explanation of, we get the application, the commission meets, we do a site visit, we meet again, things like that.
You go to
I
the
just thought
top
it might
page
be a
first.
way.
You go back to the top page for a minute. Okay, so where on this page does it differentiate between an NOI and an RDA?
So this page is kind of standard. This part right here, it's here, components of a complete NOI
Okay,
application
all right,
would
thank you.
be these items here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Because, you know, not all RDAs require a site plan.
Right. I think there's a good, good thing for you to use.
It would be good for you to sit down with the applicant and go, what's applicable and what's not? What do
Yeah.
you have to do? What do I expect
Yes.
of you? So I think it's a good
Yes.
starting document, but I wouldn't expect any applicant
Oh.
to pick this up and go, oh, I can do all of this.
Yeah,
They're
no,
not gonna.
not to do it themselves, but when, you know, they come and physically hand me
Yeah,
the
yeah.
paperwork, I can be like,
Let's
or
sit
if they're mailing it in, I can be like, yep, there's this, this, you know,
It's good for
and then
to review.
email them and say, hey, I still need this information.
So do you need approval to post this on our website?
No, I just wanted your input. Heck, bats were on the website for some reason. I don't know why there was bats on the website.
That's on the website?
Bats. There was an entire document on bats.
Okay.
I got nothing on that one. I
Oh,
took
we
it
had,
down.
years ago, there was someone who donated bat boxes.
Oh, maybe. It was just about the bats.
We've
Yeah.
had a lot of issues with bats and permitting, so it was an informational piece.
So yeah, if commission's comfortable, I think she should post this on the website. And perhaps, send some information to the local newspaper. Get some PR out there,
That's a great idea.
or, maybe send it to all the realtors in town. Maybe even do we have a list of environmental consultants that typically present to us?
Yes. Well, we have a list of general environmental consultants that we give out to people. It's not a complete list, but
So we could send these to them as well. And get the word out. So, this is the format we're gonna follow. And perhaps that
if
would
anything too, I can make the checklists and then the order which we follow, like our permitting process, 2 separate documents. So we
Right.
could post like the permitting process to the website, and the checklist is something I
Right.
could keep in office.
anything to help people know up front, and that would save them time and would save us time.
Mhm.
And having, in some cases, having to continue meetings because we're missing information. What,
Yeah, I wonder about keeping what Anna has up now, the Westfield Conservation Commission wetland permit process, kind of an in-house, but I think at least the first couple pages, I think would be really good to have on the website. I don't know whether this would be good too. Maybe it would.
well, it tells them how many copies they need to give us and.
Yeah, I guess that is a
and
good
the-
thing to have.
And the dates and so on.
So that people don't expect to show up to the meeting and get approved in one meeting.
Get it done right away. Yeah, that's true.
Because,
I think
9
they
times
get
out of 10, that
frustrated
doesn't
by that.
happen.
Right.
I think
They
it's a
get
good,
frustrated.
time scale, so they know what to expect,
Mhm.
that it's not gonna happen the first night that we talk about it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, that probably is a good idea then.
So do you need a motion, Anna, or are you comfortable just posting it?
Oh, I don't need a motion. I just wanted to see what you guys thought on it.
I think those are good ideas.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. Item D, in-person meetings or Zoom. I guess
Oh.
pursuant to recent emails, we have to go into in-person next time.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they proposed 2 months ago to extend Zoom meetings until December. It was assumed it would get signed, and then the House came back and said, no, we want to do hybrid meetings until March. And the Senate, it's like, that's too expensive for all these municipalities to do. So the December extension didn't get approved yet. The governor hasn't signed it because it's just kind of like piggybacking on one another. So technically speaking, next meeting is going to be in person.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
But I don't suspect it will, because it would seem that nobody can agree on what to do.
I don't see how some of these small Western Mass towns are going to do hybrids. I mean, it seems like they're very, very technical, and I don't like the idea of getting fined $200 myself. So, you may have a lot of people resigning from commissions, all across, the state, and not just conservation, but others, if they're susceptible to that kind of, punitive action.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right. Yeah, they're never funded.
Yeah,
Okay,
another
so-
difficulty that was brought up is, if the city of Westfield has more than one committee meeting on Tuesday night,
Right.
how do we clone Peter?
Oh, you.
Good comment. Yeah.
But they could be watching on TV and not participating. Really? Okay. All right.
Speaking of Peter, the June 28th meeting is not on the tube. Yeah.
Okay, so
No.
without any,
If nobody's watching, we gotta jazz these meetings up. We gotta we need to
All
hire.
right, Tom, start throwing stuff when you get annoyed about the trees. Just
Yeah, how to
flip a
juggle,
table.
maybe.
all right, so without any further word from the state, next meeting
Is in
on July
person.
26th. We'll be in City Hall, probably 201. You're gonna try to get that room, Anna?
Oh, I don't know how to do that.
That's our
Karen can
typical
tell you.
room. Just go to the mayor's office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is a big screen in there. But you need to bring a laptop or something to hook up to it to project.
It has a computer in there, but it sucks.
It
Not
does.
that this laptop's any better.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Aside from that, something I didn't get to add on here
Sure.
was I need everybody's signature, and this is only if the commission wants to do this. Pretty much there's a form that could have been signed as of 2016 that if every person on the commission signs it, it designates one person as the overarching signature. So I wouldn't need 4 signatures for everything. I would just need 1 for like auditing stuff and purchasing stuff.
I was waiting for you to figure that out, Anna.
This is like the 5th time I've been to auditing, and I'm like, you mean I gotta get
Yeah.
4 of them in here? And they finally were like, do you not have this on file? And I was like, no, I don't.
Well, if we meet in person next time, we can fill out all those forms.
Aside from the fact that I know Alex will not be here next time, hopefully
Mhm.
Jen will be. But because I know that Alex won't be here next time and I need to submit some documentation prior to the next time we meet, I do need 4 signatures for a different
Okay.
document.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, can we talk real quickly about help for our administrator? Is the
Sure.
part-time position, anything going on there?
I talked to
No, I sent
personnel,
it.
they
Yeah,
said they're gonna put an ad out again in the newspaper, but that's it.
nobody reads the newspaper. I know Lauren distributed it to a few people as well. I reached out to her and I was like, hey. I talked to Vicky about maybe increasing the pay. And she said she would look into it because it would be we would increase the pay using our NOI fees.
Mhm.
And she said she would look more into it, but auditing is super busy at the end of the fiscal year. So I might not hear anything on that one for a while. I know Karen, you had mentioned making it more hours when we were out at the Bayberries. And we said we would discuss later, but I was telling you that they can't give more hours because if they want to give more hours, then they got to give benefits and they don't want to give benefits.
No, I was saying use NOI fees. I wasn't saying more hours because I
Oh.
know they don't want to give more hours.
Yeah.
I think
And
I think that you deserve the support. I would be in favor of using NOI monies. So I encourage you to
Yeah.
continue that discussion if unless we hear different from other people tonight.
yeah, no, I definitely think that, they cut that budget by $4,000 for that clerk. So they I can see why nobody has applied.
Now, what does auditing have to do with that decision, Anna? How are they involved in?
Vicky Morrow is the person who does the budgeting. So right now, the clerk has a set pay of 17 and change an hour for 19 hours a week. And that's on a set yearly budget. So we would have to change that budget. So it would probably have to go through her, through personnel, maybe even city council. It depends on what the procedures are.
Yeah, keep chasing. I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, we even talked about, we have a 3rd floor department meeting, community development and conservation meeting every 2 weeks. And we talked about, again, with the whole, maybe hiring a clerk that works in both departments and seeing where we can go from there. That way they are a full-time employee and they help everyone. But that's another fight that I know has failed in the past, but maybe we can achieve it.
Can I switch subjects, David?
Well,
I'd
just
like to now talk about.
I don't
most-
remember that particular line item being cut when I was talking about the budget with the mayor. In other parts of the budget were cut because money hadn't been spent for a couple of years. But I don't
It
think it
had
was that
to
item.
do with Colleen moving departments. So she was at a certain pay I don't know, the way it's described is weird. So it's 17,000, like the overall budget wasn't cut. That money was moved elsewhere, but it's not in the clerk's position anymore. Let me pull it up.
No, that's all right. I could go down to City Hall and try and check on it next week.
Yeah.
'Cause
I
that
don't-
wasn't my assumption when I approved this with the mayor.
I'm very excited for this coming fiscal year where I can have a say.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll deal with this next week.
I don't think the entire commission was, in fact, I know the entire commission was not copied, but there was an email sent to Anna. I was copied. I think you were, David, from Rob Natero, and he was suggesting that we give consideration to low salt roads, to sensitive areas that we know there's a creek nearby or a precious wetland nearby. As a result, I sent a tickler to Casey and Highway, and he responded back that he's not aware, even though we have signage up, he's not aware of the city doing anything special on any roads. It's something I think we should consider if we think it has benefit to the environment and start a program. What the other thing interesting that Casey did point out was that the city currently uses some kind of brine solution, which, if I understand, is just a water application along with the salt and probably some other non-corrosive material. So at least we're doing something a little more environmentally sensitive, as opposed to spreading just pure rock salt on the roads. But how do we get the flavor of the Conservation Commission on something like this? Is it something that maybe Anna could do some homework on and come back to us? Maybe it's got to do good. It has to be beneficial. It would be a pain in the butt, for Highway. They would have to alter their habits. But I think that they would be willing to do that. I'm quite impressed with Casey. I think he's probably the most environmentally conscious highway guy that I've ever met, which is really good for us.
Well, I know in some
He
areas,
also he said something about there's a traffic division. I don't, after all these years, I still don't know Westfield politics very well, but he thought that if we were interested, we should definitely loop them in as the city traffic committee would want to maybe even want to take the lead on something like this. But again, is it something anyone else on this commission is interested in?
did you send that email out to everybody?
I have not. We could
Why
ask
don't you
Ann
do- why don't
to
you
do
do
that.
that and we can put it on the agenda as a discussion for next time.
Yeah, can you circulate that
Sounds like a good
for us,
idea.
Ann?
Mhm.
Thank you.
I know, at least in my neighborhood, they put down something in the center of the road before the storm comes, instead of dumping a lot of salt afterwards.
Yeah, and that's that brine.
They do that at the college too, or they used to.
You're right.
Yeah. So,
That wonderful,
let's-
gross smelling stuff.
yeah, send that out to everybody and then, we can talk about it next time. And I guess one word, the beavers are back at the Brickyard Ponds and have reestablished the ponds to what they used to be. So
Jeez.
before the culvert was cleared out. So
They're great. Yeah, we took I'm gonna compile the drone footage that we took of the Brickyard Ponds and maybe make a little montage video
Yeah.
that we can put on the website.
That'd be
You know,
cool.
the second I get a clerk to do minutes.
thanks to the police department, we got to use their drone, or they used it for us out at Brickyard. So,
Mm.
well, thank you.
I
Okay.
happened to be there. That was very cool.
Was it?
The
Okay.
very,
Yeah.
it was fast. The process was quick. Anna and I talked about doing it on some of the other sites that we own, some of the other conservation sites to have a baseline so that in 20 years, somebody might know might benefit from the knowledge that we can give them from today's look up in the sky.
Sure.
So
Right, thank
that
you.
was, again, that was pretty cool. And they're, like you're suggesting, David, the police they're dying to use this toy. So they'd love to hear from us again.
Great. All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Again,
All right, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Lauren,
yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. All right, thank you,
Thanks.
everybody.
Yep. Good
Guys,
night.